Welcome to Brightened Mind Podcast. I'm your host, Vicky Parchimento. Here I'll be sharing you ways to brighten your mind and increase your inner joy and peace while living life beautifully within and emulating love to others and yourself. Brighten your mind to brighten your life and brighten your world. Welcome to episode 6 of Brightened Mind Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about follow the recipe. Now, what do I mean by follow the recipe? A few years ago, several years ago, one of my mentors back then would always say, one of the first main basics you should follow is who do you listen to? You have to make sure that you listen to people who have what you want and who have been where you are. So just a couple weeks ago, my partner was making pancakes, and she mentioned that she changed the recipe. She didn't want that many pancakes that were made based on the recipe or the ingredients, and she wanted half the amount. So what she would do is she would still use the one egg and half everything else, with the butter, with the milk, with the powder. And she noticed every time she made pancakes, they were a bit dry or they weren't fluffy enough. And this was almost for about a year that she was doing this. And then one of her friends mentioned, "Are you following the recipe step by step?" And my partner said, "No, I am halving all the recipe, but keeping that one egg." And her friend said, "You have to follow the recipe step by step. If you don't, you won't get those fluffy pancakes, and you just won't, it won't work. The pancakes just won't taste as good as pancakes should." So she ended up following it step by step. And I kid you not, the pancakes are fluffy and they taste great. I even noticed, I said, "What are you doing different? The pancakes are amazing." And she mentioned that I follow the recipe step by step. And it made me realize this concept I learned years ago, which is follow the proven pattern of success, or the proven pattern, or the recipe. You know, it's for example, if you were given a recipe for chocolate cake and that person gave you the recipe, didn't even try making this cake, and instead of sugar, they mentioned, it says the recipe told you to use salt. You know, you make your cake, you bake it, you add in all the ingredients, and instead of sugar, you use salt. When you bake that cake and you taste that cake, that will definitely not taste like chocolate cake. I know by experience, a few years ago, my cousin, when he was a baby, his cake was delivered to their house, and everyone took a bite of that cake, and everyone just had this weird look, and we all knew that person who made that cake used salt instead of sugar. It just was not the right taste, and it didn't get the results that they wanted. So that's the one thing I want to mention, is you have to follow the proven recipe. And the reason why I mentioned who do you listen to is, for example, if you read a personal development book, and it's by someone who doesn't follow the concepts in the book, and they're just writing the book because they want you to buy it from them, just because they know some concepts here and there, but don't actually follow them. Do you think that you're getting the right recipe for success? You know, you can accidentally fall into getting the right recipe because, you know, by accident you got it, but why would you spend time listening to someone who's not doing those concepts that they're teaching? It's like going to someone with money problems and asking them for money advice. It's like going to someone who has failed relationships and asking them for relationship advice. You know, you are listening to someone giving you their recipe, but it doesn't work because of the results they're getting in their life. So that's the reason why I mentioned that following the proven recipe for success, recipe for inner joy, recipe for peace, whatever it is that you want in life, you have to make sure that this recipe that you're getting it from is from someone who's actually tried it, who's actually gone through it and actually got results. And that's what I want to share in this podcast. And one thing that I will share in my Brightened Mind Blueprint course, I do talk about the basics that I personally have been following for over about a decade now. And it's actually changed my life. I'm much happier than before. Like my brother said the other day, my younger brother, he said, Vicky, you are calmer now. You were not calmer years ago. Definitely not. And I feel the reason why I'm more calmer is just the concepts I've learned and actually following those concepts and principles and actually doing it day by day, that it doesn't just become a habit, but it becomes unconsciously competent, meaning it's on autopilot in my mind. Because I've mentioned before that you have to program your mind. You have to program it. Program it for the joy, program it for the happiness, program it for the success, the peace, and just loving yourself and loving people around you, and just having that brightened mind. So that's what I want to share with you guys today. And just remember to always follow the proven recipe and always listen to people who have what you want and who have been where you are. Thank you for listening to Brightened Mind Podcast. Please subscribe and listen to more ways to brighten your mind.